Hey, C Squared here. In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about my new lighting setup. Recently, I needed to update from my old fluorescent lighting setup. I had two softbox fluorescent lights from Westcott, as Westcott Basics, I think, and each one had an 85-watt fluorescent bulb in it. And they served me well for quite a while. The color rendition, I think, was pretty good for what they were, and they really didn't cost very much. And I would still highly recommend that little setup for anybody who needs to do some home videos and stuff and need to spend like maybe $200 or less, something like that. And they worked really well for a long time. There's just a few things I didn't like. One thing was just the soft boxes were kind of big for this little room that I do most of my videos in, and most of the things I do around the house here. And also, I wanted to be able to run the lights on battery power if possible. And of course, you can't do that with the fluorescence. So I wanted to switch to the LED stuff. And for quite a while, I've watched Caleb Pike's channel on YouTube, DSLR Video Shooter.com. And he's really good with his lighting setups, and he seems to really take a great interest in finding out what all the different possibilities are, and especially I like that he does a lot of stuff that's within a budget that seems reasonable for most of us. So I was really interested in the setup that he described in his $500 video lighting kit. The three lights were Aputure lights. There was the HR672S and the H198, two of those. Now the H198 had since been updated, really. They still sell those, I guess, but they had been somewhat updated by the F7. So I decided to get the F7s because I like the idea. They seemed like they might be a little bit thinner, and they also had the dual color temperature. I don't think the H198 had that. But anyway, so I decided to go with those. So it costs a little bit more than $500 for the three lights with some stands. But not a whole lot. So I think I came in under $600, and then I also got the soft box that goes with the 672. So that's what I'm using right now to light this, and I'm still learning. It's a little bit tricky to change your lighting setup. I don't know a whole lot about it, so I have to do a lot of trial and error to get things right. But right now, I'm set up in a situation that I do a lot, except that I usually have one of these things with me. And this situation creates a lot of little weird problems because not only do I have to light my face and get the exposure right there so there's nothing kind of weird and blown out, but I also have to make sure the guitar isn't incorrectly lit, like maybe the neck being too dim or having like blown out highlights across it. So those things create some little complications to it, and I'm still unraveling some of that now with the new lights and everything, but I'm starting to dial it in and get a little bit better, and I'll keep working on it. And if anybody sees this and thinks they can spot something that needs to be done a little differently, I would love to hear it. So leave that in the comments. So I'm going to take my other camera and just kind of quickly show you where things are set in this room for the look that I have right now. So the 672 has the little easy box, soft box, and that definitely makes a big difference. I would highly recommend it if you're going to use one of these. So here's the F7 that's being used as a fill light, and it is set to about 54 or 55% output right now, just so we can look at it. It was a little bit too bright to show it at full blast. And then back here is the background light. So this F7 back here that's being used as a fill light is set to 3200 Kelvin to just give me some warm color back here on this background. Okay, so some of my favorite things about these lights, starting with the 672, is that I think that light is incredible for the size. It's got a lot of output. Yeah, the color rendition is really good. And it comes with a little remote, which is really cool. I feel empowered when I use it. I get that look, I think, like my stepfather had back in the early 80s when we got our first television that had a remote control. So some strangely empowering, I don't know. You can run it on the battery power like I'm doing right now, and it's just really convenient. And the size, it's just amazing you get this much light out of something so small. Couple of things I don't like. I'm not real crazy about how the batteries fit in and out of the back of that light. It takes two of the big Sony style batteries, and the way they clip in is a little fussy to try to get them in and out, especially when you got the softbox on the light, because you can't really get a grip very well. But other than that, I really like it so far, and hopefully it'll be reliable. I just haven't had them long enough to know yet. But yeah, it's a great light, 672 by Aputure. Now the smaller lights, the F7 by Aputure, I can't say enough about those two. Each one runs on a little Sony battery. There's a couple of different power options, but that's how I'm powering them. It's really convenient, and they don't weigh much. Just put them on the stand, carry them anywhere. They can even fit on top of a camera if you just had to do that. So one of my favorite things about the F7 is that you can adjust the color temperature on the light really easily, so that right now in the middle it has its full power available because all the LEDs are being used when you're doing daylight balance. So at 5500 Kelvin it's ready to go full blast if you want to. I've got it turned a little bit down just because we're looking at it, but I can take that down to 3200 for a nice warm look. Let me take that power down because it's still too much. So you can take it down to 3200 for that warm look of a tungsten type color, all the way up to this really super cool 9500 Kelvin. It's really quite a blue light. Anyway, that's one of my favorite things about this light, is that you can do that, which is how I'm, changing my background to a tungsten type lighting. Just to give me a little bit of a warmth in the background. Something that's a lot better on this light, I think, than the 672 is the way that the battery latches in. It's got a little push button. To me, that's a superior way to lock it in place, because the little latches that are on the 672, as I mentioned before, are a little bit fiddly to deal with. So I really like these lights. I hope they last a while, and if I come up with any other revelations about them, maybe I'll come on here and let you know. But thanks for watching, and come on back soon. Click like and subscribe, and I'll hope to see you in the next one.